there. Welcome back to another episode of the Marissa Rader Show. I am so excited to have my good friend Heather join us today. She is the keynote speaker at the Woman to Woman conference that's coming up. And I have only known her for a little under a year, but she showed up to the conference last year. She was in the audience. She asked such amazing questions. And one of them I will never forget. And maybe you don't even know what you asked, but we opened it up at the end for questions. They could ask any speaker anything they wanted. And Heather asked, what can we do to support you? And my heart just exploded and was like, that is a woman that I need in my life. And it's just kind of grown from there. So Heather, tell us all about you. Well, maybe not everything, but tell us all the really good things.
Thank you. Gosh, someone asked me that question many, many years ago, and I have never forgot how that made me feel.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, gosh, I want other people to experience that. So it's funny that you remember it because everybody had beautiful answers. They really did. Like some of the people, the ladies that you had are just remarkable women. And they're like, whoa, wow, what do I need? Because we don't get asked that very often, right? Like,
yeah, it caught me off guard.
yeah. Well, my name is Heather Kittleson, and I am from southwestern Minnesota. I'm a mother of 4 beautiful little kiddos, ages 5, 7, 7 tomorrow, actually, 9, and then a 15-year-old son. And I'm married to my incredible husband, Amos, who owns a technology business in Sioux Falls. I am really excited about being the speaker for the event. What you're building, Marissa, is really beautiful. Like the way that women can bring together women in this lifetime, especially with all the stresses and all the things that we have on us on a daily basis, to be able to share that and have just grace and love for one another is really special. So I'm pumped. I am pumped to be able to give a message that these last 4 years I've been working personally on myself. And I feel like we were talking a little bit before this. I feel like I've been it's like fast forward. It's like this, just, I want more and I want more and I want more. And it's not of earthly carnal things at all. It's, I want more depth and I want more of what God has for me and for my family. And every corner I turn, I feel like there's so much knowledge and so much beauty and so many things that I just didn't even know existed.
Yes.
Before, like when I was deep in my addiction of alcoholism, in my 30s, leading up to my story, which I will definitely share bits and pieces of that at the event. But I just didn't know because I wasn't in the right mindset. I was so consumed by trying to find earthly, all of the different things that the devil works so hard. And so he's like on overtime to distract us from all the goodness that God has for us.
Yeah.
And I was in it. I was there.
Oh, I can relate to that though. It was like, I was just checking boxes off, in my 20s and even just like coming into my 30s, even into like having our last baby just 4 years ago. And I remember just checking the boxes off, get the degree, get the job, get married, have the kids, do the things. And every time I check a box, it was like, well, obviously I was overjoyed to do all of those things, but it was like short-lived. It was like, okay, now what? What's the next thing? And it was all these earthly things that I was chasing, building the house, doing the things. And last year, what you said earlier reminded me of this. My word was abundance. And everybody hears abundance and they always put it with an abundance of money. Like want an abundance. You want a big house. You want, money. You want all of these things. And it was like my abundance was, I wanted an abundance of love and friendship and grace and all of these things in my life, only the things that you can get from one place and one place only. And once I came into that mindset, it was like life didn't even exist prior to it. I mean, it did, but I look back on it and I'm like, if I had only known then what I know now. And so now I just love sharing it with people.
And when you when you think back, like you just said, it feels like the life didn't even exist before. What's really crazy is all of those experiences, we have to have them and we have to go through that in order to know how great and how grand it can be.
Yes.
Because it's like the checklists and all the things that we do as women, we do that on a daily basis. And yes, dang, do I ever love a list, right? Like I love to put a list together, get her done and be like, yeah, buddy, like I'm good. But there's still this place of, okay, but right, there's like, okay, now I got to make another list and another list and another list. And I am out of I just the good, the bad, the ugly, the disgusting, the all the things that I went through and the trial and error and man, even like in marriage and in parenting and in friendships and um I was thinking back the other day about how when you walk into a room, how often do we already have set ourselves up for failure. We're
Yes.
gonna walk in, what am I gonna say? Who am I gonna meet? I'm probably gonna slip my words up. I'm gonna say something that I wish I wouldn't have, blah, 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 right? So we're predicting the outcome that is just not good.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking that, right? Like our mind is such a beautiful thing, and it's so if you don't use it right, it will work against us every single day. And so
Yeah.
I when I walk into a room now, all I think is, man, I can't wait to get in there. I cannot wait to meet the people that God has in that room that either I'm able to change and help make their world better and their life better, or whoever is in there that's going to be able to speak wisdom and knowledge and awesomeness into my life. Like, I'm so excited for that.
Yes.
And not worrying what anyone's going to think of you, because when you realize in your heart and your mind, well, your spirit, soul, and body. So when you have like those three and those are all aligned and you know that you are the person that God created you to be, and you're working every day to get to know him better. The more you get to know him better, the more you get to know yourself better. And the more he reveals to you of the goodness and the greatness that you have. And so it's all through him. And so every day it's like, I don't care what room I walk into. I don't even taking a walk on the street and cars drive by, a smile and a wave can change someone's life. Like to allow God to truly manifest himself through us is what an honor. Like what an honor and what a joy that we get to do that every day, right? And then
Yes.
these beautiful little human beings and um I mean, I know when I think back because we're working through some things with our kids right now, and through my disease and through past hurts and past traumas and things that I may have said or did, like um, a piece of what I want to speak about is how powerful it is to step into the uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable is where growth happens. And a really uncomfortable place is going back into our past and going back to a place of um, gosh, did I really do that? Did I really say that? Did that really happen? Did uh did that like did that hurt destroy the thought of or what's going on in my kids? Did I plant a seed in my kids that is manifesting into this behavior now? And the truth is probably, but how are we going to be proactive in that? And how are we going to be able to speak into that? Not not going to a place of, oh no, not me. Not me. I didn't do that. I didn't do
Yeah.
that. But shame and guilt and all this other stuff, we really mask those things. Like I do an event called Get Naked, Shed Your Layers. um I've had people go, really, do you really get naked? No, no we don't. But yes,
No,
yes we
no, it's
do,
not
no we
that kind
don't.
of event.
Because through life we put on all these layers, and the layers get so thick and so hardened that we really forget who we are. I mean, that's just
Yes.
it's plain and simple. um and it really does happen to almost every single one of us. And I never like to generalize, but we all go through this molding process, right? And so through every different change of who we become as before to who we are, we always kind of um what not we like people will say, don't look in the rearview mirror, only look forward, right? Only look through the windshield, not the rearview mirror. And I will tell people, no, like, no, we have to go back. We have to address the things that have happened to us, the things that we've done. We have to, and this comes from recovery, you know, we have to go make our wrongs right. We have to,
Yeah.
because we can't fully step into who we are until we have made amends, and until we have, because otherwise that guilt and that shame and that fear and all that stuff, just, it gets inside of you, and it just, it's like a lockbox. Like, you don't ever get to come out. You, the full person that God created you to be, is stuck until you actually reveal and do this whole entire, like, the butterfly analogy is perfect. Everyone knows the butterfly analogy. And that is what I have been working on since I got out of treatment in 2020, right before COVID. That is all I've been focusing on, is healing, making all the things, hitting it face on, and it sucks. It is not fun. It's so uncomfortable, but every single time you pass through that uncomfortable and that ick and that feeling of just, oh, I don't like this. Even with working out, like, everything, right, that feels not good, the other side of it is so good. It is
Yeah.
so good. Oh man.
Oh,
So
no, I love that. And honestly, yesterday I took literally 5 minutes, I think was all. I was on social media yesterday and a video popped up and it was Kurt Cameron and he was interviewing no one else but his sister. And she was talking about the difference between joy and happiness. And she was saying that to be truly joyful in your life, you have to understand the difference between the two. Happiness is what you feel in the moment when something, so we just got back from vacation and that was happiness. That was in the moment. That was living and breathing happiness, that whole trip. But joy is what you have in those moments of darkness that are going to bring you out the other side. And I feel like that's what I was missing, was that pure joy. I wasn't able to even go back and work through all of the things that I needed to become who I am today. And just like you, I'm still a work in progress. I'm still finding things that I'm like, oh my gosh. It's a process, and it's a lifelong process. It's a journey, but having that joy and knowing what that is and where that joy comes from is what allows you to face those things in your past and to face the hardships that present itself in life and keep you going. And that was what was running through my mind while you were talking there, was just how fitting that video was yesterday to what you're saying now. And without that, that euphoric feeling that we have, that we are in that transformational process and we want it for everybody else. We talked about that before we started recording, that we want to shout it from the rooftops, like, just get uncomfortable and dive in and do the work and stop, that I had that cycle of, either deflecting or just not even acknowledging things or being like, not me, it's not really like an entitlement, but it's like this feeling of like, it pertains to everybody else, but not me. So maybe it is entitlement. And, now that I look back on all of those things, I hardly ever think about what anyone else is doing in their life. If they pop up on social media or I see them somewhere, I'll wonder what they're doing or how they've been. But my thought process that surrounds other people is so different than it was in my 20s. I'm no longer self-conscious. I mean, yeah, I'm like, do I have something in my teeth, or like, is my shirt weird? Or, like, we all have those moments, but I know I don't even think about other people thinking about me anymore, because I don't think about other people like that, because I'm so involved in my priorities and my values and living a life that fits me. And when somebody comes to me and they start talking about somebody else, I'm like, people still do that? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing, because I have worked so hard over the last few years to just surround myself with people who no one else even comes up in our topic of conversation unless it's a necessary comment. There's no gossiping, there's no anything. And that is such a freeing place to be in. Like, it's incredible.
It is. When my husband and I when we were going through what we went through and then coming out on the other side of it, all of the joyful and the happiness, like I remember feeling so much resentment for people that had it together
Yeah.
and had it together. Like, what does that mean? When you see someone and they're succeeding and they seem joyful or happy. I remember always going, God dang it, like I'll never get there. I think
Yeah.
I am, but why do I keep going back? And it's like I'm happy and then I'm depressed and then I'm worried and then I'm fearful and I was like, well, I know now because I'm not going back there. I want to look at people and I want to just be joyful with people and happy with them. And then also I want to have empathy when people aren't there yet. And I want to see people and understand people. And I want to share with people the baby steps that it takes to get there. Like when people are willing, when people say, gosh, dang it, I wish you could just post something that's happening bad in your life. I've had
Yeah.
people say that to me. Like all your posts are always so like everything is just perfect. Like, can you post something that happened that was awful for you? And in those moments, I have to take a quick step back and go, I get it, because I've been there, and I understand that is, the when people are talking bad about each other, when people are commiserating with one another, when people are like, I'm so grateful their life sucks because mine does too.
Yeah.
It's like that's the wrong mindset. That's the wrong um and I mean that like that it's really not okay.
Yeah.
And we need to speak more truth into people's lives about that. And we need to say, I understand where you're coming from because I've been there. But there's a different way of looking at life and doing life, and it's God's way, and it's speaking truth to not only yourself but to those around you. And so if you're in a bad place, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I have been there, and I ain't going back there. Like I'm actually in a good place, and every bad situation that I have, I make dang well sure that I don't sit in the ick, in the muck. I
Yeah.
look at that and go, okay, that kind of was a interesting situation. So how am I going to make that better next time? So like my foundation is no longer crumbly sand where that could break me, where moments that are icky or that are gross, I used to crumble and I would go find a vodka bottle and I would find everything I could to find just these little bits of happiness, and then it would crumble again. So I've been there. And so I don't want to post things, um, or I should say, I don't have things to post anymore that are negative and wrong and gross and dumb, um, because I'm not in that,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm in a different state of life because that stuff to me, man, I want to help people get through those things because I am building my foundation that is so dang strong that when anything comes my way, it's like, nope, not gonna enter into that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay in the positive state of mind, and I'm gonna surround myself with people that have a growth mindset, that are deep and have substance of conversations. Um, because when you know better, you can't go back to not knowing better. Like it's like I want to know better so I can do better, and I want to teach and advocate for all of that. Because now that I do know better, like I don't I step back into that and I'm like, ugh, not
Yes.
happening. Not
Yeah.
happening.
It's
I'm not.
almost like you repel those situations now because your boundaries are better, your state of mind is better, your actions are different. And
Yeah.
so the same thing when something negative happens in our life or we're in a really tough spot, it doesn't feel like the end anymore. It doesn't, it just feels like a bump in the road that we're going to get through that, I used
Hmm.
to read the self-help books at the beginning of my journey and, Marie Forleo's Everything is Figure Outable. And I was
Yeah.
like, like I read it like a skeptic.
Mhm.
And the more I look back on some of the things that I've read and heard people speak about and videos I've watched, and I've immersed myself with people who are speaking these messages,
Mhm.
because it just it changes the way your brain thinks. And I knew what a growth mindset was. I was an educator. I taught
Mhm.
small children for a living. Like, we literally spent portions of our day working on growth mindset. Did I know
Mhm.
everything was possible? Yes. Did I believe that every one of those kids could do whatever they wanted if they were willing to show up, put in the work, and take the chances?
Mhm.
Absolutely. But did I actually think that for myself? No.
Right.
So, and there were places where I did have a growth mindset, and then there were places where I didn't. And I still catch myself sometimes with that mindset, and I'm like, get that out of here. And it's not something that you just overcome and it never happens again. It's a constant redirecting. But now I recognize when it's there. I also
Mhm.
recognize what I'm going to need to get through it the quickest I possibly can. And then I get to move on, and I have that joy that pulls me through those moments and leads me back to happiness more often than not.
Yeah. It's a state of, um, I've all day long,
Yes.
I feel intoxicated with
Yeah.
joy. And I can use that word because I have been in the other state of trying to find that joy. So I would live
Yeah.
intoxicated and it didn't, I mean, it was awful. It was just like you talk about the deepest, darkest places of physical, like your spirit, soul, and body literally dying day to day to day because you're feeding it full of poison and all of devil's playing ground. It's just, um, and yet trying to grit, like you're just grasping on for anything. And so my husband puts it so good. And this is why I just love that man. Um, so if I'm having a moment with the kids, right? So
Mhm.
the way, instead of like being reactive in the kids'
Yes.
moments of, because every kid's going to trial us. What kid does not, right? It's what we did to our parents. So here we are, and we're like,
Yep.
the heck is, who is that kid today? Like the devil is coming out of him,
Yeah.
like, and I just, ah. And then, so there's moments where I was like, Amos, I've had it. I can't, like this. And he goes, Heather, remember, you have a different tool bag. You have
Yes.
a different tool bag that you have done all I've done I've I used to say my kid is not in that parent book. I would get after him and be like, you read all these parents books and then you have all these professionals who tell you all these things and blah blah blah, and he's like, but if you have a different tool bag, if you learn from all these people and you take their wisdom, you take all the different nuggets that you get from people that work for you, put
Mhm.
them in your tool bag, different tool bag, because the other one's gone. That reactive, the scolding, the the energy that you give off to the kids that used to like be scary, because it was kind of scary. uh you no longer have that. Like
Yeah.
your tool bag now is choices. Your tool bag now is love and empathy, and you're in a sober mind. So now you get to speak to them in a way of, from God's words, God's wisdom.
Yes.
What would God want you to do in this situation? All the parenting that you need is in the Bible. All the parenting. And so I am just so grateful that he always says that. Like, it's a different tool bag. Just take out a different tool in this situation, Heather. You got this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, that was part of the reason why I left the classroom, was because I was so reactive with my kids, because I had to compose myself and keep it together all day long with everybody else's kids. And then I would come home and it was like I just could not take one more second of somebody needing me,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
and my kids were the ones that needed me the most, and I couldn't do it. I just physically couldn't do it. And I remember calling my husband and being like, I need you to come home right now. Like, I can't do it. Like, you need to come home from the farm because I can't do it.
Yeah.
And he would be like, okay. And he's the least empathetic person in the world. Maybe not the least. I mean, he's not like narcissistic or sociopathic or any of those kind of things, but he has very little empathy for anyone because he's so laid back, and life just kind of flows for him, and whatever comes his way, he just takes it in and he just keeps going. So when someone's in like a crisis mode, he's like, get over it. Like, what are you doing? You know, like he just does not understand it. And so that is something that we've been working on completely, because I'm the opposite. Like, I'm so overly empathetic that like my kid cries and I cry with them because I just can't help it. Like, I just can put myself in their feeling. Or if they're angry, I would like mirror it and get angry back, because I just would
Oh,
take in however they were feeling and then just like project it back at them. And so that we're like trying to balance each other out. So I love that Amos is there to be like, use your tool bag, the new one, not the old one, because that's
oh,
what Trent and I have to do together, because we're like polar opposites when it comes to that. And I definitely need him to be like, calm down. It's
uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah. And it's not easy when they say it because I'm like, oh,
I know, like
Joan,
dagger to the heart. Like, how dare you say that to me?
we have in these last 3 years, because I mean, when you are active in your addiction, there's so much lie and there's so much manipulation, and we are pretty good at it. Like we're really good at it. I had my husband fooled to the point of the day that I was going to take my life. Like he didn't know. He did not know it was that bad, nor did he really understand what I was doing or how much I was drinking or any of that. Like, so the trust, man, oof,
Yeah.
like I've had to earn his trust back from 0 back to 100. And knowing that and stepping into that, like when he speaks to me and he is gentle and he is kind and he is in the way that he delivers his message, even like for an example, when you say we're doers and we do so much and we go, 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 go. I struggle to sit down. It's a learned behavior. My mom has always been a doer, always been she barely sits down. She's always wanting to love on people and serve people. And so I got these incredible traits from her with that, but it also can serve in a negative way
Yeah.
because we run ourselves ragged. Fatigue is the worst thing for women. And so he will say things like, oh, honey, gosh, if I do sit down, he'll go, honey, you look so beautiful when you sit down. Oh, that's his nice way of
Yeah.
saying, sit your butt down. Like, we need you to chill out and relax, Heather. And when I do that, because I want my kids to see contentment, and contentment being like after you have put your all into something, after you have, um, let's say won the race, you've ran a half marathon or whatever your goal might have been, and you hit that. You don't have to jump in and go max out again on something else.
Yes.
15 loads of laundry and then dinner and then go pick weeds and then go do this. It's like you can take a breath and you can sit down and you can fully embrace everything that's going on around you and be present in the moment. And I struggled with that for so long because I was seeking for fulfillment, right? And the
Yes.
more I would do, the more fulfilled I would feel until
It
I
all
was
came
sit
crashing
down
down.
again and then I'd want to fill it back up, right? So it's this just,
Yes.
it's the hamster wheel that people talk about.
Yep.
And so I am at a place of when I sit down, I will randomly, my husband and I have this Google Doc or Pictures. So we share pictures, so his will come on, and I will randomly see pictures of me sitting down. I was like, why, when did you take this? He goes, anytime I see you actually taking a moment for yourself or just sitting down to take a breath, I want to capture that. So you see and remember those moments because they're too few and far between. So I've been working on it
I
and it
love
takes
that.
practice. Like a learned behavior of busy, you can unlearn, you can reprogram and restructure your world around healthy behaviors. I mean, we know this, there's so many books and so much knowledge out there
Yep.
with atomic habits. And um, I've had to reprogram. Everything that is in here that I knew before, there's still beautiful things in there, but there's still so much that I'm working on. I'm studying. I just became a commissioned minister. Like I want to know, I want to be able to share and educate others of the possibilities that we don't think are possible, that we limit ourselves as human beings. And the fact that God lives in us, our potential it's limitless. Like who we and what we're capable of, we totally give ourselves such um, low standards and low limits. And when we kind of look at ourselves in the mirror and go, dude, you got this. Like if we say the things and share these knowledge nuggets with others around us, and we start building each other up the way we build our kids up and our spouses, the way that we should be building our spouses up and speaking life into them. If we do that to ourselves on a daily basis, Marissa, like,
It's
oh my gosh,
it's
the
like
things that,
astronomical, the effect that
yeah,
it has, because it's one of those things that compounds. It starts off with, like, for me, it started off just keeping track of things I was grateful for in my day.
mhm,
Like
which is
just
a good start.
just
Gratefulness is like key.
like a little snippet. And so Trent and I challenged each other. We did it for a month straight, where every night we would sit down and we'd write 10 things we were grateful for. And the first night it was so generic. Like, I'm so grateful for my house. I'm so grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for my spouse, all of these things that you just obviously you're grateful for. But as we went, what we were really doing was training our brains to pick out those moments during the
Mhm,
day of what we were grateful for. And so after I started doing that, then I started doing it with myself. Like,
mhm,
how can I bring life into myself, and how can I change my mindset around things that involve me, and not just,
yeah.
what I've seen other people do, or what I've experienced throughout the day. And it just becomes a habit. Do we do that every night? No, we haven't done it in probably 2 years, if not longer. I can't even remember when we started that habit. But there are still times now throughout our day where we catch the gratefulness in the
Mhm.
moment and make sure that we say it. And that's just so different. I don't have to hold it in anymore, which is actually better for me.
Yeah, I carry a tablet and pen around. I used to joke that like having a journal and writing those kind of things down is like, oh, maybe tomorrow, and then years go by, right? And
Yeah.
so, um, I I look back at journals from high school and different things, and I was like, today I saw a squirrel. It was cute, like the
Yes.
stupidest journal entries. And yet, I struggle with it as an adult. And so the more that I am stepping back, and like right now as we're talking, the clouds have it like the most beautiful formation, and they're just coming in because I think it might storm today. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's like looking up at them and being like, oh, wow. And journaling about the things you see in them,
Yeah.
how it makes you feel, the joy that it brings, the smells, the like just there's if we put a piece of paper in front of us with a pen or a pencil, the things that now come out because I have entered into the state of mind of gratefulness and
Yes.
joy, it blows me away. I write and I get done and I go, I didn't do that. I didn't write that. Like, because it's not the same person I was
Yes.
before. It's no
Yeah.
longer that person. And so the way that I write now, and the wisdom and all the knowledge that I've been feeding my heart and my brain, it's like I love the person that I am becoming. And
Yes.
I
And so it doesn't matter the person that you were, because I don't even think about that person anymore. And when I do, I'm grateful for the person that it's turned me into, but I no longer feel the guilt or the shame or the anything that surrounds that, because I'm just so happy with how far I've come. And that's what I focus on. Oh, I love
we're
it.
molding, like we're molding even our marriage, my marriage. And you were talking about you and your husband too. It's like the essence of becoming one. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just failed that miserably. It's like, no, you do you, I'll do me.
And we'll
And
converse for a few minutes in the in between.
oh man, what God has in store for marriage, I every day I pray for that now.
Yes.
Help me even mold deeper into your definition of marriage, how you created it from the very beginning for a husband and a wife to come together. Help me. Help me just love him. Let me see him how you see him, so that I just like I can't I can't get enough of going deeper into the relationship with my husband. And truly, it's God, husband, kids, and then the rest. It should all, when that in that order, or your family is all working out, and you're really every single day working hard to make sure that all of that
Yeah.
is in place and in line. And you, boundaries, I heard you say boundaries earlier, and that's a whole nother conversation for a different day, because I never had boundaries.
Same.
Never. I
Never.
let everybody all up in my business. I was in everybody else's. I was people pleasing and doing all the things.
Yep.
And that got me absolutely nowhere. I am such a fanatic for boundaries, man, and good, really good, healthy.
Yes.
Some people put boundaries up and they're not loving. I believe that boundaries are loving. And
Agree.
so that's another place that
Yeah.
I think needs to be talked about more. So
Ah, well, I'll have to have you on again and we can talk. It'll be a whole boundaries episode and it'll be fabulous. Oh, I'm so glad that you're here today. I'm so excited for as many women as possible to get to have you in their lives, because the light and the joy that you feel within for yourself, it literally just comes out.
oh,
It touches every
thank
person
you.
that you're around. I've heard you speak, at events and different things, and just all the conversations that we have. There's just something that hits different about having that internal peace and that internal joy. And you don't just walk the walk, you are, or walk the talk, right? Talk the talk, walk the walk, whatever. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
You're doing it all. You're not just telling people how to do it, you're living it every day. And I think that that's so important. And I'm so glad that the people who are watching and listening get to see that from you, so that when they show up to the conference, they're already going to feel like you're their best friend. So I hope you're ready for a bunch of new besties, because
Can't
I can
wait.
tell that people are going to be like flocking in and be like, yeah, Heather and I, we go way back.
Yes, and please come. I love people's stories. I'm just so excited to meet everybody. If people have not bought their tickets yet, that room and the energy that was in the room last year, the space that you created, Marissa, like it's really beautiful. There were so many great women there. I felt like, I mean, because all the speakers were friends of mine. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is a day that I feel like I'm in heaven on earth, because I get to be with the people, and I chose to be here today. And man, so I just am grateful that you invited me to do this. I'm really pumped to meet everybody.
I'm so excited. I always have a hard time describing to people the the feeling of the event, or it's so hard to put it into words, because it was like exciting, but it was calming at the same time. And it
Yeah.
was like there, you could just feel the love in, and the respect for each other and the empowerment that was happening. It was like all of these really big emotions were there, but you weren't feeling them all at once. It was like little bits and pieces, and then you walked out and you were like, what was that? I don't even know. I don't even know what that was.
Yeah. It was just a beautiful day, and full of knowledge, I mean, that you couldn't, that panel of ladies, like yeah, all of them I could sit and listen to for hours. They're people that I want to be in their space. I want to be in their circle. I want to learn from them. I want to be a part of their world. Um, and so to all come together in one room, it was like an explosion, is kind of
Yeah.
how I took it. Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited that that's that's what we're creating again this year, and that you
Yeah.
get to be a part of
Same.
it on the other side of things. And honestly, it's a conference for women in business, but my business didn't really take off until I had some of these other pieces in place, like what we talked about today. It's not just a business journey, it's a personal journey that you're going on while you're building your business. And so from marketing to nervous system regulation, we have Liza coming in. Like, it is just going to be all of the pieces that people need to have success in their business. And every time I think about it, I just get giddy, and like my heart beats a little faster, and like the butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, it is almost here. We're like 40 days away. It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait.
Yes. It's going to be a great day. Really
Oh,
great day.
well, thank you so much again for being here.
Yeah.
Tell our friends where they can come find you and chat with you beforehand or follow you on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you like to hang out. Share it all.
Well, I am on all of those. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a podcast called Fortitude. My husband and I, we're about 22 episodes in, which is so fun. And every single episode is someone's individual story of fortitude, some sort of adversity that they went through in life and how they have overcome what they've done. Some are pretty step by step. And then on the other side, how they're honoring God and in what he walked them through. I have over 40 stories in the queue. It's so crazy how God has honored this. And there's people all over the world listening to it. It's
Yeah.
exploded. That's how you know when you're doing what God has called you to do. That's the joy. That's what the monks call dharma. I mean, it's like when you're
Yeah.
living in it. And so the other piece is I'm going to be speaking at some other things. It's all if they there's a lot of different events that are coming up, but ultimately I would say just the regular social media platforms work out really well.
Sounds good. And I will link them all in the show notes so people can just click on them and find you right away.
Cool.
And oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I have no problem saying this with you here, but you and I, we're both going to be here cheering them on until the next episode. So have a great day.
Thank you, Marissa.